takes.
This broadcast on SimTV is brought to you by Sparco, Motorsports Racing Apparel and Accessories, and Penguin RC Simulation, Premium Sim Racing Hardware.
Welcome to Monterey, California, here for the 7th round of 9 in the 2018 SCRS Ferrari GT3 Challenge. I'm Kyle Heyer here with Finian Laguna from SimTV. Finian, we only have a couple races left in this season, and it's now crunch time for a lot of these drivers. It's the 7th round here, and Laguna Seca is a tricky track, Finian, and what are you expecting to see out of this race this evening?
Oh, it's going to be a key of surviving the famous corkscrew. As one of the drivers put it earlier in the Discord, the corkscrew of death. So pretty much it's going to be, just keeping it clean, keep the car on the track, and don't try to lose any points through incidents, because every point counts at this point of the game.
Absolutely, and as we're going to look at the point standings here, Finian, as soon as I can find them, there they are. All right, Finian, so right now, the pro battle, Justin Richardson has a 114-point lead over Kurt Krum. But what I'm interested in, Finian, is the AM battle. Drew Lidke leads Christian Ost by 1 point, and Brian Sohn is tied for that second place position, but don't look too far to find George D'Angelo 2 points back from the lead. So Finian, today, the points battle is tight between these AM drivers, but another notable thing is that Justin Richardson is actually sitting out this evening, so those battles will be certainly fun to watch. We're currently qualifying, and Finian, I'm curious to see, out of the AM drivers here tonight, which one do you think is going to be the one to watch?
I think definitely the one to watch will be probably, I'm going to say Jared Jewell. I'm just going off practice times right now. He was the fastest, I believe, of the AM drivers. So he got some really good pace. And we haven't seen too much of him. He's been kind of silent running like mid-AM pack. But him at the front is the first. So definitely be interesting to watch him.
Yeah, George D'Angelo had a couple weeks of frustrating finishes that dropped him out from the lead from the AM battle. But currently we're watching him qualifying. And he goes to the top of the, actually, excuse me, that's Christian Ost that jumps to the top of the board there in the 157. So Christian Ost out to a 0.03 second gap on Brian Sohn. So already that AM battle shaping up even in qualifying. So Finian, with the notable exception of Justin Richardson, now we have to look at the pro battle and we have to decide who's going to be the one to watch there. My prediction, Elliot Mimi is an obvious choice, but Jonathan DeCouger as well has always been good. And Kurt Krum is definitely a challenger every single week.
Yeah, definitely those three, besides Richardson, have shown they have the potential to win. It's just a matter of getting the win itself. So they have the pace to do it. He's not here this week, so it's going to be a pretty much toss-up between those three guys.
Yeah, as we saw Jonathan DeCouger go for a loop there, but he jumps to the top of the board by 0.3 of a second over the 7 of Kurt Krum, and Steve Ficacci is going to jump into that third spot. And it looks like Jared Jewell is out on track. And a cool new thing this week we got, Finian, is we have Jared Jewell's onboard VR cam. So we'll jump on board. This is delayed by just a little bit just because it's through YouTube, but here we are on board from the helmet cam for the 73 of Jared Jewell. And we're going to try to stick with them through a flying lap here around Laguna Seca, newly renamed Weathertech Raceway, so a new partnership with Weathertech.
Yeah, don't like the logo though, I will say that.
Yeah, hasn't really changed a whole lot from when it was Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca, but new partnership with WeatherTech, and us here at SimTV, a new partner, Sparco. Sparco teamed up with Justin Richardson and SimTV, so we want to thank them for their support, as well as Penguin RC Simulations. The links to those sponsors can be found in the description, along with point standings. And for those watching on YouTube later, the race start times will be posted after the race in the comments, so you can easily jump to the start of Race 1 and Race 2. So as we're watching Jared Jewell here working the far side of WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca, heading towards the famous corkscrew, Finian. This is a huge drop, and it really makes the car light and upset.
Yeah, that's really pretty much one of the most terrifying corners in motorsports, in my opinion. It's a completely blind left corner into a, how many feet is the drop? It's a really high drop. I know
it's a lot of feet, I can tell you that. I don't know the exact number, but it's...
Yeah, and when you're battling with someone side by side, you have to make sure you're giving enough room while also trying to navigate the corkscrew. And in my experience, it's off-track central, cutting corner central, and it's really just a matter of hitting your marks there.
Yeah, so Jared Jewell's going to come around and complete a qualifying lap. Just under 9 minutes remaining in this qualifying session. Jonathan DeCouger still at the top of the board by about 9/100ths of a second over Kurt Crum. Steve Ficacci moves up to third. Currently the best time is a 1:22.553 by that 39 of DeCouger.
Yeah, Ficacci and Mimi are separated by, I think, only 100th of a second, and they're both coming around to get another lap in, so we'll see if they can improve.
And I'm hearing over in the Discord, Justin Richardson is ready to join us. I'm going to go grab him and bring him in just to give him a quick, ask him some quick questions about what he thinks tonight's going to look like. So we'll grab Justin. Hey, Justin, SimTV booth, you got us?
I got you.
How you doing, Justin? Tonight we're in round 7 of 9 in the Ferrari GT3 Challenge. You're out tonight, unavailable to race, but what are you expecting from this pro battle and the AM battle behind you that's really, really tight?
I don't know. You know, DeCouger, he looks pretty quick in practice. I ran a few laps, and I won't say my times, but I'll say that just from the 5 or so laps I ran, he would have run me pretty close if I didn't gain any more pace. So I'd say DeCouger, he's pretty consistent, doesn't make mistakes that often. So I would aim for him in pro class. And what is the AM class drivers? Who are the top guys there?
Over in the M class to pull up the point standings once again, it looks like the leader right now is Drew Lidke, back 179 points from your lead there, Justin. But Christian Ost is 1 point behind him, so a tight battle up front for them.
They've both been pretty good. I'm sorry to say that I think Lidke would have a little bit more of a lead had he and I not spun him last week for the what was it, race 2? Just because of my hampering on his second race last week, I'd like to see Lidke have a good race.
Also right in the mix, Brian Sohn, George D'Angelo, and Ryan Plord not too far back, so all those drivers battling for a chance at a AM championship. Justin, here at Laguna Seca, there's a lot of corners that are tricky and a lot of off tracks here, a lot of dust getting thrown up, but what's the scariest part on the racetrack for you here?
The scariest part for me, believe it or not, is going to be the fast left-hander heading up the hill. And that corner is all about hitting your apex correctly and not losing too much speed. So my idea is if I can get that right, I'm going to have a good lap.
All right, and with just over 6 minutes remaining in qualifying, Elliot Mimij is going to jump to the top of the board with a 1:22.470, which is just under a tenth faster than the 39 of DeCouger. Justin, we have some new partnerships here thanks to you, and you've got the partners of Sparco. They've been great to you and great to us, so we want to thank them for their support, as well as Penguin RC Simulation. So you want to talk about that partnership?
Yeah, you know, from my personal business, daily life, I hit them up to help them with their business and what I do in logistics, and it slowly evolved into asking them about gloves, and then they asked why, what I did, and I told them, and they said it was a new thing for them, and they'd like to get involved. And since then, they've supplied me with gloves. I told them about the SCRS series and how the broadcast has been and how much better the broadcast is, aspect-wise with just covering everything. I mean, from your guys' videos that you've been putting out lately, it's just been fantastic coverage. And so they said, that's something we think would be interested to put our name behind and throw out a few things and incentives. So it's a slow thing, but I think it's slowly going to get bigger. They see that. They've already started a whole gaming line. And I'm just happy to see, it's all about connections in my real life business as well as in racing. So hopefully we can get these connections going and growing and get Sparco's name out there in the sim racing world that people can see that they have gaming side of things as well as real world stuff.
Absolutely, and we want to thank them again for their support. We got their logos proudly put underneath the SimTV ticker, so we want to thank Justin for hooking us up with them. Nice. And again, Penguin RC Simulation for sponsoring the broadcast. We want to thank Brian for all of his support each and every week. So thanks for talking to us, Justin. We hope you enjoy the broadcast.
No problem. Thanks, guys. I'll be meeting with Sparco management tomorrow morning, so I'll be sure to send the link so we can watch it in their office while I'm there.
Awesome. Sounds good. Thanks, man.
All right. Have a good night.
You too. All right, and we just have just over 4 minutes remaining in qualifying. Finian, new partners this week, always exciting for us here at SimTV, trying to grow this channel. New Twitter, you want to talk about that a little bit there, Finian?
Yeah, basically, you know, everyone nowadays has a Twitter, so we thought, why don't we get into the game? So we have it set up that every time we go live for our broadcast for our races, it automatically goes to our Twitter, so you guys can be informed if anyone wants to follow us on Twitter. It is, I believe, sim_TV. That's SYM_TV. And yeah, give us a follow if you can.
All right, thanks for that, Finian. And we're just watching Jared Jewell driving around now, just going down through the corkscrew through his VR onboard cam. About 3.5 minutes remaining left in qualifying, and it looks like he's the only car out on the racetrack still. So I guess we'll hang out on his onboard cam for a few more minutes. Finian and I love VR, and from a sim racer's perspective, how much does VR give you an advantage over someone with a single monitor?
Definitely gives you an advantage where you can look to your left and to your right. For me personally, as most people are, I'm using a single monitor and I have a button key to look left and right. So if I'm driving, but the only problem is that when I'm driving in the race, battling with someone and they're on my left side, I have to constantly toggle between left, right, and also try to keep looking straight. And I have to hit a button. And sometimes in the middle of a turn, I also have to look left, and it's hard to hit that button. But with VR, you can pretty much do it like you do in real life. You can just, you know, glance over a bit at the left or at the right side and see where the other guy is. So it's a lot more convenient. And also, I think even better than that, it's a lot more realistic and it's a lot more immersive. And it looks, and I can't imagine how it actually feels to do VR. I honestly really want to get into VR for sim racing. So it's a whole bunch of pluses for me.
Absolutely, and we want to thank Jared Jewell for hooking us up with that amazing onboard camera. We'll hopefully jump to that a couple more times during race 1 and maybe race 2 later this evening. As usual, we have a 15-minute race to start it off, and then we have a 20-minute race for race number 2, and we have 2 minutes left in qualifying. Just looking at Weathertech Raceway, Laguna Seca from above on the blimp cam. And we want to thank Finian again for setting up these cameras on short notice today. And we're out on spring break, but Finian, it's snowing out here in my hometown of Rochester, New York, so not very much fun up here for me.
Oh, really? Okay, we got down here, down at Long Island, we got snow a few days ago too, so even when we left school, the snow came after us.
Yeah, not so here in Monterey, California. Nice and warm and toasty, but not too toasty. Looks like there's some pretty good grip out there, so I don't think anyone's going to have enough time to go out there and run another lap. So it looks like your starting lineup is going to be on the left side of your screen there. Elliot Mimi going to have pole.
Yeah, great job by him. I was looking, as we were going through qualifying, I was looking at him. He was behind Dekuja, Fukashi, Crum, and I was really wondering if he was going to pick up the pace, and he definitely did. He picked up a half a second from his previous best lap. So good on him, and great pole for him.
And again, a field a little bit smaller than perhaps we're used to here. 14 cars entered for race number 1. So as I was saying earlier, your starting lineup is on the left there. Dekuja, Fukashi in the top 3. Kurt Crum 4th. Jared Jewell 5th. Ryan Plord 6th. George D'Angelo, Christian Ost, Brian Sohn, Ryan McPhail rounding out your top 10. Liam Park, Dan Garber, Andrew Mickey, and Spencer Kemble are going to round out the rest of the field for you. 35 seconds remaining left in qualifying. We're about ready to get this thing underway. And Finian, I'm sure excited to watch these cars make their way around this dusty old course. All right, and our top 4 drivers are going to be the pro drivers, and I think, I'm going to look through here real quick, I'm pretty sure there's only 4 pro drivers entered this evening. So 4 pros and 10 AMs lined up to start this one. And the checkered flag is out for qualifying. And we're going to set them up and get ready to go around for a pace lap. And Finian, here we got, as usual, our rolling start on the first race and a standing start on the second race. A track like Laguna Seca, the first couple turns are basically a double apex left-hander, and that can sometimes invite drivers to open up the door and stick their nose in. So is there a risk versus reward when driving in deep into a corner like this?
Oh yeah, definitely. But I think what we've seen is usually these guys can get relatively spread out. They've been getting better at it as the season's gone on. So I don't think we should see any too chaotic like spreading or like anyone making a dive bomb maneuver. But definitely later on the races, later on as the race goes on, we'll see people start to make passes. It's a great way to set up a pass through the giant front stretch that exists here, and just drafting down the front stretch, and then you can stick a nose in. So great passing opportunity there.
An elevation change here in Monterey, California. There's a lot of it. Most of it comes in the corkscrew, but there are some other tricky parts. As Justin Richardson was saying, that left-hander kink in the back straightaway before the uphill towards the corkscrew, that is a very tricky spot. And fighting a GT3 car through there, is that really the hardest thing, is those high-speed corners that require a little bit of downforce, or is it the slower corners where maybe you don't have quite as much grip?
I would say it's a little bit of both. You know, you have different problems with different speeds. You know, with the high speed corners, if you don't have enough grip, you're gonna go flying off the track. With the low speed corners, if you don't have enough grip, you're also gonna miss your turn. So it's really just a matter of finding a good balance, good entry speed, good turn-in point, and just nailing your corners.
All right, got the rough RT12 pace car working its way around WeatherTech Raceway, Laguna Seca. Elliot Mimi on pole. Of course, Elliot Mimi driving that kinetic racing Ferrari GT3, lined up right next to Jonathan DeCouger in the TrackSculptures.com Ferrari in the 39. And throughout the race, you can find your running order on the left-hand side of your screen with the relative positions of each car on the left. And you'll notice whenever we focus on a car, once the green flag drops, you will see that relative change based on the driver we're looking at. That's just to help you and us so we can make sure we know what the gaps are to the car in front and the car behind. So Finian, 15 minutes around here, should be about 11 laps. If you're someone kind of towards midfield, maybe towards the rear of the field like George D'Angelo, starting 8th, what's your plan? I mean, you're in a points battle. You can't really risk anything. Do you just hang out here and try to collect points in race number 2? Or are you aggressive in race number 1?
I would say it does depend on how the first few laps go. If you're able to make a few passes here and there and move up a bit, then you should try to push and just keep the pace going. But if you're struggling to get around guys and you're caught up in the back, I would say just ride this first race out. You'll start in the front towards the next race and try to work with that.
All right, sounds like a plan to me, but Elliot Mimi is going to have to run and get away. And it's going to be 15 minutes here at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. They're going to come out of the last corner. Elliot Mimi is going to bring them down to the green flag. And the green flag is in the air. 15 minutes here at Laguna Seca. Already we're several cars wide.
Yeah, DeCouger did not get a good start. He's falling back in a little bit of door action.
They're all going to spread out wide in turns 1 and turns 2.
Uh-oh.
Got contact. Car is slow. Brian Sohn's one of those.
Yeah, Jewel and DeCouger made some contact. Luckily, no one got spun around.
Looks like Liam Park made some contact with Brian Sohn there as well in turn 2, but everybody else seems to get away without too much incident. Gaggle of cars here fighting for 11th spot, but there's George D'Angelo up 1 spot already. But now he's going to be on the attack, or under attack from the 867 of McPhail. Working our way to the corkscrew for the first time. Down the corkscrew, Elliot Mimi works his way out to an early lead over Steve Ficacci and Kurt Crum. The rest of the field's going to follow him. Looks like we're all sorted out for now.
Yeah, it was definitely not the start the Cruiser wanted, dropping from 2nd all the way back to 5th, and he's trying to get around Jewel, but Jewel's giving him a hard time.
Yeah, DeCouger trying to get that spot back. Down a couple early on in this one. Yeah, that first couple corners was a little bit of argy-bargy here, but as you see, wow. DeCouger dives underneath Jared Jewell for that 4th spot.
Bit of more argy-bargy.
And behind them, Ryan McPhail, another Team TrackSculptures.com Ferrari is also fighting to get past George D'Angelo. George up 1 spot, so already starting that climb, and he's deep in that points battle. But the cars he's fighting, they're close to him, so it's good. Already we're off to a really intense battle. Just a couple minutes into this race here at Laguna Seca. Whoa! It looks like D'Angelo over the curb there just a little bit, sliding out wide over the dust. Ryan Plord tracking down Jared Jewell in the 73. And behind him, George D'Angelo continuing to hunt down drivers in front of him. But out front, Elliot Mimi still out to about a 1.3 second lead over Steve Ficacci. And Finney, this is something I'm not sure I quite expected. I thought Crum and DeCouger would be all over the 9 of Mimi, but Elliot's out to a pretty good, comfortable lead.
Yeah, so far so good for him, but I'm wondering if Ficacci has anything to answer for him, or will Mimi be able to check out here. We'll see these next 2-3 laps to see really how the pace of these guys line up.
Brian Stone just got around the 14 of Liam Park. Move Brian up to 11th spot. Of course, Brian, team member over at Penguin RC Simulation, so thanks to Brian again for helping support these broadcasts and bring them to YouTube live each and every single week. Looks like Liam Park, Finian's got some damage on the left front from that early contact, and also the right front. His car's a little bent up. And, you know, with damage like that, is this something, Finian, where if you sustain damage in the first race, you just kind of want to, you know, kick back, relax, and maybe make your attack in race 2?
Well, it depends on how severe it is. If it's your steering, then you definitely want to lay back. If it's a bit of power, you can still try to hang in there, but I wouldn't be. If you do have damage, you should just take it easy. It's race 1, and if you place in the back, race 2, you start up in the front, so you can try to use that to your advantage. Jared
Jewell in the 73. That 74 of Ryan Plord is tracking him down. That gap has come down to just over 0.3 of a second. And this is going to be the battle for 5th, and it's heating up here. And George D'Angelo is tracking them both down. So D'Angelo about a second behind this group. Working their way through turns 3 and 4. Dan Garber working around the outside of Liam Park. Looks like that damage is really hurting the 14 of Liam.
Yeah, it's unfortunate for him. You know, as a driver, you just got to sit there and just lug the thing around for the next, I would say, about eight or so laps, and you know, just finish this race and move on to the next. But it just sucks, you know, just driving around with a non-competitive car.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Jared Jewell and that battle with Ryan Plord, it is heating up. And they work their way through the corkscrew, and Plord is all over.
Ryan worked up to him last lap and just all over the back of him, but just can't find a way through. So he's just, I wonder if he's going to just try to sit around behind him and try to figure out a way past, or if he's just going to keep lunging.
Well, Jewell misses apex there by just a little bit, and it's going to bring Ryan Plord ever so closer. That gap is now under 0.3 of a second, and D'Angelo less than 0.8 of a second behind Plord, so that these three are tightening up. It's the best battle on the racetrack, other than 12th is swapping again between the 33 of Garber and the 14 of Park. And here goes the 74 looking underneath Jared Jewell, but not going to make that pass complete that time by. Out a little wide over the curbing, kicking up some sand. And let's jump on board here with Jared Jewell, and we'll see if we can look in his mirror and see that 74 getting any closer. Here's that left-hander Justin Richardson was talking about. Oh, that's a little bit wide over, up and over the curbing. Got his right side tires in the grass, but he's going to hold on to it. Look, checks the mirror, sees a 74 of Plord. On the brakes, deep into the corkscrew, misses that apex just a little bit, drags the right sides over the curb.
Here comes Plord, he's looking.
Checks the mirror again. This is a great shot. And even George D'Angelo appearing in that mirror there. Mirror is on the right-hand side of the screen, that TV camera that they use. Looks in the side view mirror, and that's Ryan Plord is ever so close. Jared Jewell still defending over that 74 Plord.
Yeah, Plord just went wide there. He lost a little bit of ground, and D'Angelo looks like he's going to try to make a run.
Whoa.
And side by side.
That battle is getting intense. Finian, we're just about halfway through this race. Mimi is just checked out in front of the field by 2.3 seconds. We got an intense battle here between these guys. 867's flashing his lights. Is there any kind of caution that you take here with just a couple races left? If you're George D'Angelo, you know, you're deep in this title hunt. You know, is there risk versus reward? And it looks like 74 Plord got a slowdown.
Yeah, he missed the turn, so he cut the course, and he's gonna have to give up some time. I believe he's good now. But yeah, that's really gonna take him out of that fight for fifth.
Meanwhile, Jared Jewell gets a moment to relax for just a second, but behind him, George D'Angelo defending viciously over Ryan McPhail and Ryan Plord.
Yeah, and another guy who can't really take a break is Steve Fakashi. He's got Kurt Crum all over the backside of him.
Yeah, Crum tracking down Fakashi for second. This battle has been heating up, several laps in the making here.
Yeah, what I'm noticing is that these guys are able to catch up to the guy behind them and just not really finding the best opportunity to pass. And it's, oh, I may have stand corrected.
I was just about to say, Finian, Kurt Crum dives underneath Steve Fakashi as Steve missed the corner. A little bit of contact there. Crum gets a little bit sideways out over the curbing and off the front bumper of Steve Fakashi, but he's going to take over that second spot and move Kurt to P2.
Yeah, good job of Crum saving that thing. I thought he was going to spin out.
Yeah, he did a great job holding onto a car that was perhaps a little unsettled. The rear tires picked up off the ground. Meanwhile, Jonathan DeCouger tracking these guys down. He's, didn't have the best of starts in the world, but he is coming, and he's coming quick and reeling in Fakashi and Crum.
Yeah, only question is, does he have enough time?
5 minutes remaining in this one. They're not going to have enough time to take down Mimi, assuming that Mimi keeps it going straight. He has just checked out 3.4 seconds for the number 9 kinetic racing machine of Elliot Mimi.
Ooh, and the battle for 6th is currently heating up with 3 cars.
George D'Angelo, Ryan McPhail, and Ryan Plord all over each other. I swear there's a bunch of those TeamTrackSculpture.com Ferraris out there. It's hard to figure out who's who. The McPhail, Fakashi, I believe, and DeCouger. But this is a nice, good battle between 6th, 7th, and 8th. Kurt Crum has extended his lead over Fakashi 0.7 of a second this lap, and look who's closing on the 00 Fakashi. That'd be the 39 of Jonathan DeCouger.
So it turns out he might have just enough time. I think he's definitely gotten up there. I'm surprised how much he closed that distance in pretty much a lap. So we'll see if he has anything to do with Steve Fakashi and Crum.
He'll have to summon the power of Canada to get around his American friend. Hopefully he can make this happen. We're going to keep an eye on this, and this is your tightest battle on the racetrack here, other than the battle for 6th is heating up behind these guys. Again, we'll have to check back in with that. Fakashi runs a little bit wide. Finian, that's something I've been noticing from the 00, running a couple feet too wide in some of these corners and letting his opponent stick his nose in.
Yeah, I think it's probably a bit of mirror driving at play there, and For those of you who don't know what mirror driving is, it's basically driving through your rear view mirror, where you're looking at your mirror more than you are out the windshield in front of you. And it's kind of a bad practice on pretty much all forms of racing. You know, you want to try to make sure you're looking ahead and hitting your marks, but you're so preoccupied with the guy behind you that you end up missing your marks, and he ends up getting able to make a pass on you.
Well, Fakachi is going to have to drive really hard if he wants to hold off that 39 to Kujar, because he is putting all the pressure in the world on. Meanwhile, 6th place, wow, look at this battle of 3. Well, a little bit of contact, maybe a nudge. McPhail gets a boot from the 74 of Plourde, and maybe that, Finian. Plourde has disappeared off of our relative. I wonder if that was a DQ.
It just might be.
There is an incident limit in the Ferrari GT3 Challenge, and I think the 74 of Plourde has reached it. So that is not what we want to see. And we didn't really talk about this at the beginning, but off track's very easy to get here. The curbing is wide and flat, and there's not a whole lot of camber in the corner. So if you miss your corner, and you will definitely go sliding over the edge of the racetrack, get yourself some 1Xs and get yourself DQ'd. And I'm sure that contact there was probably a 4X between McPhail and the 74. But, I can tell you who doesn't have a whole lot of incidents. That's your leader, Elliot Mimi. 4.4 seconds over Kurt Krum. And next time by will be white flag. Well, that battle for third, we jumped away for a second to watch that 6th place battle, but third is still hot. Steve Fakachi and Jonathan DeCouger. They're going to be rolling around here, finishing up their race in one more lap when we get to the finish here.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see how DeCouger tries to set up this last lap and see where he can try to make a move on Fakachi. Because I think we both know that he's faster than him. It's just he doesn't have enough speed to get around him.
I think that's the case too. Elliot Mimi is going to take the white flag, but meanwhile behind him, the battle for second is heating up. Krum has kind of come back to Fakachi and DeCouger. I'm not sure if DeCouger's going to get a shot at Krum in the 7, but he sure as heck might get a shot at the 00 here. One lap remaining. You can see Steve Fakachi running out a little bit over the concrete there, right up to the rear of Kurt Krum, and contact with the teammates. But they're going to get back going. That position's going to swap, put DeCouger to 3rd, Fakachi to 4th. Go ahead there, Finian.
Yeah. Oh, I was going to say, I don't think that's the result either of them wanted as teammates.
No, probably not, but it looks like they don't have a whole lot of damage. They're going to be able to continue, but Jared Jewell, closed up that gap when they're both sitting there in the dirt, but not going to be quite enough. Out of front, though, Elliot Mimi just checked out from the beginning. We knew he was going to be fast, and especially without the competition of Justin Richardson this week. This was kind of an easy one for him, but as we know, Finian, race 2, we're going to invert the field, and he'll be starting right at the back.
Yeah, and I think looking for the next race, it should be really interesting.
Elliot Mimi going to be completing this final lap in race number 1. Out of the final corner, Elliot Mimi is going to take home the victory in race 1 here at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. Kurt Krum rounding the final corner. He's going to take home 2nd place after a hard-fought battle. DeCouger is going to win his victory over Steve Fakachi, who is going to hold off hard-charging Jared Jewell for 4th. Jewell's going to come home 5th. George D'Angelo 6th. Ryan McPhail going to bring home 7th. Christian Ost, Brian Sohn 8th and 9th. In a pretty tight battle back here, Dan Garber, Liam Park, and Andrew Mickey for 10th, 11th, and 12th. And Spencer Kemble out of the final corner. Not a great showing for Kemble here, but as the field inverts, he'll be starting right up near the front, so it'll be interesting to watch him for race number 2. All right, Finian, and as we've completed this first race, we're going to set it up and get ready to do race number 2. We'll be back with your winner, Elliot Mimi, shortly, and we're going to also try to grab potentially DeCouger, and we'll get those guys interviewed. We'll be right back. We're going to jump to break. We'll be right back with race number 2. And welcome back to Sim TV for the completion of race number 1 for the Ferrari GT3 Challenge here in Monterey, California. We're here with your race winner, the driver of the number 9 Kinetic Racing Ferrari, Elliot Mimi. Elliot, that was just an easy one for you, at least it looked like it from our perspective. Just checked out a 5.4 second lead. That was an impressive race for you. Tell us what it was like from your perspective.
Thanks, guys. I wouldn't say checked out. I was trying to be as conservative as I could. I knew the first lap would be pretty critical on the cold tires with how low grip this track is. So I knew if I could really build like maybe a 1 to 1.5 second gap on lap 1, I'd probably put myself in a pretty good position. Although I don't know what happened to DeCousier. He was behind me at the start there. I was looking at my braking point, and we came out of turn 2, and he wasn't there. So I don't really know what happened to him, but that was kind of unfortunate.
Yeah, and there was quite a lot going on behind you there, Elliot. As we move into race 2, you're going to be put right at the back of the field when the field inverts for the 20-minute race number 2. What's your strategy for race number 2?
I think my strategy for race 2 is to just try to stay out of trouble, and for both myself and everyone else. I don't want to. I tagged Steve last week, and so I don't know. I'm just gonna play it conservative again. It's really easy to wreck at this track, so I'll just be careful.
Well, that sounds like a plan. We'll be keeping an eye on Elliot Mimi for race number 2. Thanks for talking to us, Elliot. Well, we're going to jump to commercial real quick, and we'll be right back, hopefully with Jonathan DeCousier. Welcome back. We're here with your third place finisher, Jonathan DeCousier in the 39. Jonathan, you had an interesting start, but you worked your way back to third after a hard-fought battle with the 00 Steve Ficacci. What happened there at the start, and how was the rest of the race for you?
Yeah, coming down the front straight, I was discussing with the guys in the team at pre-race that, we never really practice where to brake on a rolling green like this. We're always doing it from the full length of straight. So I said, well, we'll pay attention to where the green drops, and then all of a sudden the green was down. And I was asleep, and I just got ran over. A little bit of contact. You guys did a good job. We all kind of held it together and got back at it.
Awesome. Well, you're going to be put back a little bit deeper in the field for race number 2. And we were talking to Elliot Mimi. He said he's going to kind of take it easy for this one and keep himself out of trouble. Is that the plan for you guys too, or is it charge to the front of the field as fast as you can?
I think it's really going to depend on where we catch guys. And where we get, it's hard to pass here, I find. So there's really only a couple of good spots. I don't want to throw my race or anybody else's away for one more spot. So we'll just try to pick our spots and plug as far ahead as we can, see where we get.
All right, thanks for talking to us, Jonathan. We're going to head to commercial real quick. We're going to get loaded into race 2. We'll be back in about 5 minutes. Thanks for talking to us, Jonathan, and good luck in race number 2.
Thanks, guys. Have a good night.
You too.
You too.
This broadcast on SimTV is brought to you by Sparco, Motorsports Racing Apparel and Accessories, and Penguin RC Simulation, Premium Sim Racing Hardware.
Welcome back, everyone. It's race 2 here at the 2018 Ferrari GT3 Challenge for SCRS. We're going to be getting set up here shortly to be going racing for 20 minutes around here at Weathertech Raceway, Laguna, Seca. Again, for those watching on YouTube, the race start time will be in the description, along with other point standings and links to our sponsors. A notable driver missing, Finian, is going to be George D'Angelo. He had to run for a work emergency, so he will not be participating in race 2. And I'm not sure if he has any drop leaks left or not, but hopefully that doesn't impact his title chances, because he was one of the drivers that was deep in that battle.
Yeah, it really sucks when your stuff in the real world has interrupts with your sim racing. I've definitely felt that a few times here and there, but yeah, it's unfortunate he can't be with us, and he did have a great run, so yeah, as you were saying, hopefully he has a drop week that keeps him in the title fight.
Well, we're about to get everybody lined up and ready to go. Times are a little bit quicker, 121.6. That's almost a full second faster than we were running in broad daylight just a little bit ago. But the sun is setting here in Monterey. We're ready for 20 minutes of racing. And Finian, I'm expecting a lot of charging from the rear end of the field here, and this is certainly going to be a fun one to watch. It's going to be standing start. Or it should be a standing start. Do I see a pace car out there, Finian? There is a pace car out there.
Huh.
That is probably unintentional. So
Yes,
that's good to know.
I think it is. I think the starting lights aren't working, so they had to drag the pace car out there. But yeah, that should throw a spanner in the works for these guys.
Well, I mean, we were expecting it to be exciting. I don't know if this is what really everyone had in mind. But the reason why we're worried about this here is the whole reason that the standing start is for race 2 is to prevent a lot of the first lap carnage we were seeing at the beginning of the season. So, Finian, is this going to create more carnage than we were expecting to see here, or what do you think?
Well, in the last race, at the end, I said this race is going to be interesting, and particularly because, as we saw in the last race, passing was going to be a problem. Like we saw that drivers were able to catch up to the guy ahead of them, but just weren't able to make the pass. So they had to kind of work their way around almost physically to try to make a pass happen. And yeah, since passing is kind of hard, you have a pace car now, and usually you can, if you time your rolling start right, you could get a bit of a jump. So I think it's going to be a bit interesting with this time around, with drivers in the back trying to take the opportunity to jump to the front. So we'll see. Hopefully everybody plays nice and good for at least the first lap, and hopefully all hell breaks loose. Hopefully all hell doesn't break loose in turn 1. So we'll definitely have to see when they come around next time by.
Well, you can see there that all the Team TrackSculptures.com machines are right next to each other, and Kurt Crum is behind them. Elliot and Mimi parked next to them as well, and Ryan Plord way at the back with that disqualification makes him ineligible to start at the front of the field. Spencer Kemble will be starting on pole with Andrew Mickey lining up next to him. Liam Park and Dan Garber. Brian Stone rounding out your top 5, and then Christian Ost, Ryan McPhail, Jared Jewell, Steve Ficacci, Jonathan DeCousier, all the way back onto 10th. So we're working the far side of the course on the back straightaway right now, heading back towards the infamous corkscrew. Again, we didn't see a lot of issues here, maybe a little bit of contact between some of the drivers here, Finian, but when these other drivers are you see the pace car go a little wide there, but you know, when these fast drivers are charging from the rear of the field, it is certainly going to be something to keep an eye out for, with the faster drivers hard on the brakes, trying to keep themselves off of the perhaps maybe a little bit slower drivers up in front. So we're rounding the last couple corners, getting ready to set this one up for green. Spencer Kemble is going to bring them down. Out of the final corner, 20 minutes here at again, I almost said Mazda Raceway. WeatherTech Raceway, Laguna Seca. Green flag is in the air, 20 minutes remaining.
Oh my. And everyone's making moves.
Cars scattering all over the place. 2 wide, 3 wide, Liam Park Whoa, we got Spencer Kemble around, and just a traffic jam, and Kemble stops and lets the entire field by. But up front, Andrew Mickey, Dan Garber, side by side. Garber's going to pull out in front of them, but behind them, just a big gaggle of cars. Kurt Crum in the middle of this. Elliot Mimi just kind of hanging out, waiting for these guys to sort themselves out. Brian Sohn inside Ryan McPhail. That's for the 5th spot. Steve Ficacci battling Jared Jewell and Jonathan DeCouger. But out front, Liam Park out to a 0.6 of a second lead early on in this one.
Yeah, we were talking about he had damage in the last race, and we were talking about taking advantage of a bad situation. And if he can try to get out, go as fast as he can right now and just pull out to an early lead, he should have the pro guy should have a hard time catching him working through this traffic.
Ryan Plord right on the bumper of Steve Ficacci, and he's side by side with Jared Jewell. For the time being, looks like everyone's going to have themselves kind of sorted, but there goes Jonathan DeCouger up. Oh, that's Steve Ficacci goes up the inside. Oh, into the wall. Steve Ficacci turned, and we're going to have to go take a look at that one, I think. See him here battling, I believe that's the 73 of Ryan Plord. And Ryan just gets into the back of him, just turns him straight into the fence.
Oh, no, that's Jared Jewell.
Who did I say? Oh, yes, Jared Jewell. That's correct. Sorry about that. But Steve Ficacci to the rear of the field.
Yeah, it looked like he was trying to give him a bump down the... Oh, as I say that, Ryan Plord and Jared Jewell got in contact and...
Big crash behind them. We're going to try to get a look at that because I didn't quite see that one happen. So we're going to have to jump back here. The Sim TV instant replay cam.
Yeah, it is Jared Jewell, Kurt Crum, and Ryan Plord involved in that one.
Oh, yep. Plord just got into Jewell, and then, oh, Kurt Crum got drilled in the side. Trying to avoid that. Spencer Kemble goes wide to try to miss everybody crashed. But, again, early carnage here. And we've got battles all over the racetrack. Dan Garber under attack from Christian Ost in the 157. Liam Park, 0.6 of a second in front of Garber. But 4th, 5th, and 6th, there's Ryan McPhail to the inside of Andrew Mickey. Mickey's not going to run defensive. He's going to let the 867 get to his inside and run a very wide line around the outside. And looks like the 867 will take over that spot. Andrew Mickey going to go on to the inside here. Oh, maybe a little bit of contact there. Brian Sohn runs to the outside of them. Jonathan DeCouger is going to follow him through.
Wow, these guys are going at it. Note on Kurt Crum, he has pulled it into the pits to get repairs. I saw his car. He seemed to be crabbing. The car is going not in a straight line. So that's really unfortunate for him getting caught up in an incident.
Notably important, though, not retired, just in the pits. He is not retired from the race. He's still in the pits receiving service. Meanwhile, the top 3 are getting awful close to each other. Liam Park, Dan Garber, and Christian Ost. Liam Park, his 0.6 of a second gap is not exactly as large as I think he'd like it to be, but pretty comfortable considering some of the other battles on the racetrack. Those top 3 are pretty close, but we got to change for 9th. Ryan Plord around Spencer Kemble, and Steve Ficacci battling back. Surprisingly, not a lot of damage to the 00 after that hard impact to the concrete on the outside on the front straight.
Yeah, I think he's really happy he didn't get a lot of damage out of that. Only thing that sucks is that he got put into the wall in the first place. So nice to see that his car is undamaged and that he can keep going.
And looks like we might have a battle for second here. Dan Garber and Christian Ost. Christian on the attack on the 33 of Garber. 15 minutes remaining. Got battles all over the racetrack. Behind them, Jonathan DeCouger and Ryan McPhail switching spots. Those teammates trading positions for now. We're going to move DeCouger up to 4th. Wow, a great start for DeCouger. Started near the rear of the field and is currently the highest running pro driver.
Yeah, right now these 3 ham guys up in front, they're going to be trying to get away as much as they can from DeCouger, because DeCouger is definitely earned his pro status, so he's going to try to really catch up to these guys in the front. But one notable driver, Christian Ost in third place, man. He's had 2 second place finishes in race 2. There's something about him in race 2 and being up in the front. But we'll see if he can really try to make something out of this and try to get the win here.
Another thing about Christian Ost, Finian, is he currently has the fastest lap of the race with a 122.5, so he's the fastest driver out there, faster than the leader, Liam Park. Oh, one thing we forgot to mention, Finian, is last race, Elliot Mimi was the recipient of the Penguin RC Simulation Fastest Lap of the Race Award, so let's make sure we award him with that as we're talking about lap times here. And thanks again to Penguin RC Simulation for helping us bring these broadcasts to you, and check out their website, link is in the description. Premium sim racing hardware, paddle shifters, wheel mounts, all sorts of other things. Go check that out. Brian's a great guy and helps us out a lot. And wow, this front three, Finian. Liam Park not really in the championship battle, and the other two aren't really super close there either. Let's refer back to the point standings. At least I don't think so. Actually, correct that. Christian Ost is actually battling Drew Lidke, who's not here this week. So this is going to be a good week for him. And meanwhile, McPhail under attack from the 0-3 of Brian Sohn, working their way down into the corkscrew. McPhail goes a little defensive.
These guys are side by side to the left-hander, which is a dangerous, probably the most dangerous place to be side by side with someone other than the corkscrew. So great job by them giving each other some space and not getting into each other. But yeah, Sohn lost the ground to McPhail, so he's going to try to have to work that back up.
And out front, that gap has shrunk just a little bit. Dan Garber closed up a lot in the final corner on the leader, Liam Park. Liam Park just ran a 123.1, which was a little bit slower. Wow, you see Dan Garber really charged the corner there. A little bit faster by the 33 of Garber last time, but the quickest of that group, that front three, was Christian Ost with a 122.9. But you want to really look at some speed. How about Jonathan DeCouger, 121.906? So DeCouger closing very fast on these front three.
Yeah, but so right now after DeCouger, you know you're quite a decent ways faster than the three guys ahead of you. And you can see that they're closing in on a battle up ahead. Do you want to try to let them fight and wait for an opportunity to present itself, or do you try to pass these guys one by one?
Well, he's got 12 minutes remaining, which is quite a bit of time. So I would take my time through this, especially DeCouger, not quite up this far there in the championship. Oh, we got Liam Park way off the course.
Dan Garber seemed to have missed his braking point into the corkscrew, and he hit Liam Park, and that sent him off the track and cutting the course.
Well, I think we're going to have to go back and take a look at that and see from a different perspective here. Liam Park, Dan Garber. Oh yeah, Dan Garber just got in there way too hot and just put the 14 out over the curbing and into the dangerous area where you can get that nasty slowdown. So not really what we want to see there. I'm sure there'll probably be some disagreements on exactly what happened there. Also, Brian Sohn currently listed off the racetrack, so that's a little bit concerning. I'm not sure exactly what happened to him. We'll have to check in with that later. But meanwhile, up front, Christian Ost is leading, but Jonathan DeCouger has closed that gap. It's now 0.3 of a second. DeCouger hot on the charge. Whoa, we got Ost around, spins it, and that's going to give the lead to the 39 of DeCouger. But Ost gets it back straight. Ryan McPhail is going to swing around him for third place. So move Christian Ost back down to fourth. First to fourth in one corner, not exactly what he wanted to see. DeCouger ran the best lap of the race at that 121.906, and he has just rocketed out to the front with Liam Park 1.3 seconds behind, and fitting with the pace we've seen out of the 39. I think that's pretty much all she wrote, as long as DeCouger can keep it on the course.
Yeah, I don't think there's any guys behind him and can challenge him. The only guy I really think could challenge him on the track right now is Elliot Mimi, and he's his ways back. Actually, where is Mimi? Oh, there he is. He is
fifth place.
Currently, he's just turning onto the front stretch. So yeah, he's a ways back. I don't think it'll take a lot to close that gap between him and DeCouger. So I think DeCouger can take a bit of a sigh of relief.
Yeah, maybe he can take a second to breathe, but Elliot Mimi is closing in on Ost and McPhail. That battle for third is heating up. Ost gave that spot to McPhail via spinning, and I don't really think that's the spinning lap time is not exactly what Ost was good at before, as he's had quite a bit of pace here. So he's all over McPhail and riding on board now with Elliott Mimi, watching this battle unfold. Mimi is closing the gap now just over 0.6 of a second to the 157 of Ost. Down to 4.5 of a second. Oh, Ost goes wide again.
Yeah, Ost, that's the second time in that corner that he's having some trouble with entry. I think he's getting a little too caught up with the battles around him or the cars around him. So it's really unfortunate to see 2 mistakes out of him, and his incident count is not looking too low at the moment.
Yeah, so Christian Ost is going to give over that 4th spot to the 9 of Elliott Mimi for Kinetic Racing. And Mimi, he said post-race, after race number 1, that he wanted to keep it clean and drive up through the field one by one, and that's what he's been doing so far. But DeCougeur charged through very, very quickly and is now has over a 3-second lead. So 2 different strategies here. Mimi's is safe, DeCougeur's is fast. You know, and that's just a different way of going about these things. But, you know, as the championship battle, I see Brian Sohn come back on the racetrack there. As the championship battles are heating up, and Mimi goes and passes Ryan McPhail for 3rd. Oh, does McPhail have an issue?
I don't know.
Slowed down significantly, got a lot of damage to that car. I'm not sure if that was from an earlier incident or not.
I believe that's from an earlier incident.
But quite a bit of damage to the carbon fiber surrounding that 867. But as I was saying, the championship battles are getting hot, and DeCouugeur and Mimi really can't afford to give up any points. But now it's only going to be a couple points separating them, because the only car between them is the 14 of Liam Park, who, by the way, after getting punted, I believe it was Dan Garber that gave him the boot, Liam Park has rebounded and has held on to 2nd place.
Yeah, now it's a question of, with 5 minutes remaining, will Mimi try to, you know, drive his way up to 2nd place? I think he can, but do you want to try to risk pushing the car a little too far past her limits? And oh, what? Mimi's dropped back. I
did not see what happened there, Finney. If you could run back and try to find what happened to Mimi, that'd be great for us. But
oh, he clipped on the entry to the corkscrew. He clipped a bit of dirt on the side past the curbing, and on braking, he just spun out.
I'm jumping back in replay here to see if we can find out what happened. And yep, as you said, Finney, wow, sent it for a crazy spin in the corkscrew and then give up 2 spots and fall back down to 5th. But other than that little incident there, looks like he's going to keep the car going in the forward direction and hold on to that 5th spot. So not too bad. There's been worse things that have happened to Mimi throughout the season. And we got a pretty intense battle for 6th right now. Andrew Mickey leading the train. Dan Garber and Ryan Plord tucked in right behind him. This battle is intense. Working their way on the far side of the course through the kink. Mickey takes a lot of curb. And Ryan Plord is going to close up right to the rear wing of Dan Garber. And they're going to go side by side towards the corkscrew. Finney, and this usually doesn't work out so well.
Ooh, a little bit of a nudge.
Looks like they're all going to survive it, though, and carry on. But Steve Ficacci's going to close in. Ficacci rebounding amazingly well after being turned into the wall earlier.
Yeah, he's slowly working his way up. Shirley, ooh,
contact.
He gets into Garber.
Garber's right, and they're both DQ'd, just like that.
Both of them DQ'd.
That is not exactly what we wanted to see. With just over 5.5 minutes remaining left in this one, but Jonathan DeCouugeur out to a 6.1 second lead over Liam Park.
Yeah, looking at the incident, it seemed Garber just got upset by hitting the curbing, and Ficacci had nowhere to go but into Garber. So it's unfortunate for both those guys retiring due to being disqualified.
Yeah, I think that's a total of 3 disqualifications we've seen in race 1 and race 2 here. So as we were saying earlier, the off tracks combined with a lot of contact from being hard to pass here really makes for a violent race. And those 2 drivers, 1 Pro and 1 Am, have been disqualified. Fitting, there's only 5 minutes left in this one. You have to wonder, you know, these are some risks that, you know, with a high incident count, you just can't take. And with the season closing out in the few weeks here, I'm sure some of these drivers are probably rethinking those last moves.
Yeah, definitely. You want to, you know, drive as fast as you can, but you don't want to overdrive yourself and to the point where you're making mistakes, getting off tracks, and especially because in this league, you do get penalized for having incidents. So You want to try to keep it as clean as possible and not overdrive yourself.
Meanwhile, Elliot Mimi has worked his way back to 4th after his spin in the corkscrew, so he's recovered a little bit from that. Liam Park still holding on to 2nd, and Christian Ost right behind him in 3rd. So Ost has also rebounded from a couple incidents he's had, and is, you know, held on pretty well at that 3rd spot. So good job by Christian.
Yeah, I wonder how this is going to turn out between guys. They have about 2 laps to go to settle this out. So we'll see how, if Elliot's going to get around Christian or if they can both catch Liam.
I think it's unlikely anyone's going to catch Jonathan DeCouger. His lead is extended to 8.4 seconds now. And we're working lap 12 of what should be about 15 laps here, Finian, so a couple more laps.
The funniest thing, though, is that looking at his lap time last time by, he was the fastest car last time by, so he's not stepped off the gas. He's continuously pushing, so great to see him fighting till the end.
Elliot Mimi is closing in on the 157 of Christian Ost in the corkscrew down the hill, right underneath the rear wing of the 157. And he's going to go underneath him here. Whoa! Ooh. Ost is going to slam the door.
I thought Ost was going to let him by there. I didn't think he was going to slam the door like that.
It's almost like Mimi thought he was going to let him by too. That door just, there was a hole and then it closed. So Mimi's going to have to try again. Christian Ost flashing his lights. And Mimi is on the charge here, looking to the inside. It looks like Ost is not going to defend that spot, but he's not going to have to. Mimi's going to tuck back in, try again.
Ooh. Ost really pushing hard.
Kicking the dust up a little bit off of turn 1, but keeps it on the course, and they're closing in on the 2nd place of Liam Park.
Yeah, I think Ost saw that he's closing to Liam, and he wants to get it.
Ost hard on the brakes with Mimi right behind him. Oh, Ost gets a little bit sideways.
Oh, I have a bad feeling about this.
We've seen Ost lose it a couple times in that corner, and here we go through the high downforce section. Mimi gets a little sideways arrow loose there, and they're going to work their way towards the corkscrew. This is a great battle here between these three.
All right, they all made it out alive. I was having some very bad vibes coming from what was going to happen from that, but yeah, nice strategy by all these guys keeping it clean. And out of the last turn, Jonathan DeCouger takes the win.
Couple more laps there, Finney. We got 2 to go this time by.
Is it? Oh, sorry.
We're working from opposite sides of New York State this evening, so forgive us for any mistakes. We've all made them there. So 2 laps to go. We got 1 minute and 40 seconds left. Jonathan DeCouger, might as well give it to him. He's so far ahead, 11.5 seconds. Might as well give it to him at this point. I'll give him next week's win too while we're at it.
I'm looking at the eco-laps time, which included the pace lap, so my apologies.
Yeah, that'll do it. And that's not something we usually have to worry about here, but with the pace lap being included, which doesn't usually happen for race 2, that's confusing for everybody. Meanwhile, 2nd place, that battle is heating up. Mimi's gotten around the 157 of Ost and now is on the charge for the 14 of Liam Park.
I think Mimi's definitely happy that wasn't over. So he's looking to make a pass for 2nd.
He's using that time wisely right on the rear wing of Liam Park. Hear the rumble strips buzzing underneath the right side tires of the 14. Mimi's looking. Down into the corkscrew they're going to go. Wow, ooh. Mimi, wow, he got in there deep. Liam Park parked it, stopped in the middle of the corner, and Mimi got right up there. I don't know if there's any contact there. If there was, it was slight, but wow, Mimi slides it in deep. He's going to go in for the pass, and he's going to take over that 2nd spot as Liam Park's going to run a little bit wide. And
yeah, he's slammed on his brakes coming onto that little straightaway, trying not to hit Liam, because that probably would have been a DQ, because he definitely got a 4X from hitting him in the corkscrew. But yeah, nice, got around him, and so far so good. Could have been a lot worse.
I'm not sure what you missed with the 157, but he slid all the way back to 6th, so potentially another issue for him. I don't see any visible damage, so he might have just sent it for another loop. Meanwhile, it is 1 lap to go. Jonathan DeCouger out front, 13.5 seconds. This is just domination here. That's all I can say about it. He's got the fastest lap by 0.2 of a second over Elliot and Mimi. But both these drivers came from the back to the front and did a great job of doing it. as we're going to work our way through the corkscrew for the final time. DeCouger is in his own zip code right now. I mean, he could probably stop, get out, go take a leak, grab a hot dog, and get back in the car and still take this win. As Mimi was working through the traffic for most of the day, but Jonathan DeCouger flashing those headlights, a celebratory flash out of the final corner. Jonathan DeCouger is going to take race 2 here at WeatherTech Raceway, Laguna Seca. Jonathan DeCouger is your winner. Congratulations to Jonathan, and we're going to have to go back a whole straightaway to find the number 9 of Elliot Mimi for Kinetic Racing out of the final corner, bringing it home to the checkered flag, Elliot Mimi. Liam Park, Ryan McPhail, Ryan Plourde, Christian Ost. You got to think he's disappointed at 6th place. He was running up front for most of the race. Andrew Mickey's going to bring home 7th. Jared Jewell's going to round the final corner and bring home a safe 8th place. And Spencer Kemble, again, oh, he looped it there a little bit. He's working the backside of the course right now, heading towards the corkscrew. Finian, Spencer Kemble had a rough day here, but with all the carnage going on and a couple DQs, he's actually going to jump up in front of 4 other drivers, Brian Sohn, Dan Garber, Steve Ficacci, and Kurt Crum, all who have either retired or are down several laps with mechanical issues or damage. As race 2 usually goes, a lot of contact, a lot of disappointment from some drivers, but Finian, one driver is going to be celebrating is that 39 at DeCouger.
Yeah, great job by John. Just, he took the faster approach, as you see, working through traffic, and that paid off for him. But, yeah, good job just avoiding the trouble where he could. And even Elliott, for that matter, he got caught up in that major spin involving Kurt Crum and 2 others I can't remember off the top of my head. And that cost him a lot of time. So, but good job him trying to stay and avoid trouble, as he said, and that paid off for him in the end.
All right, we're going to jump to break real quick. We're going to see if we can grab DeCouger again for a victory lane celebration this time, and we're also going to try to grab, let's see, who else should we grab, Finian? Are we thinking Mimi, or we're thinking Park? We thinking Christian O's? Who do you want to interview? It's all up to you today.
I say Park.
We'll grab
for
Park.
We'll
be right back. We're going to head to commercial for just a moment. Don't leave. We'll be right back with your race winner. And welcome back to the 2018 Ferrari GT3 Challenge. We're here with your race winner, Jonathan DeCouger. Jonathan, you're a winner chicken dinner here. Finian called out a win a couple laps before he even had it. 13-second lead. 13 seconds was the gap. You're also the Penguin RC Simulation fastest lap of the race award winner. First off, congratulations on that. And second, that was a long race for you from the back to the front. How did you manage to get that victory today?
Laguna Seca is one of my favorite tracks, and I knew I had some pace here, so I just picked my way through traffic. I mean, I got lucky with some spins, and once, I forget who was in front of me for 4th, I think it was, and he spun out, and then I started making time on the first place guys. Caught up to them, wasn't sure where we're going to make a move. 2 of them slid out, let me and another guy through, and then just picked my spot.
Well, that was certainly a fun one to watch from our perspective. Lots of carnage behind you, a couple disqualifications. Out of curiosity, we weren't keeping, I can't see your incident count. What was the incident count on your from your end there? I'm just curious to see what everybody had.
9. I think I was up to 9. I was pushing pretty hard to catch that group, and then once we got in front, I kind of tried to whoa up a bit.
Yeah, so definitely an aggressive race by everyone. Jonathan, congratulations on that victory. It's going to be good for you in the points battle. We have a couple races left. The rest of the season, is your plan for the rest of the season just going to be charge and get these victories like this, or are you just going to try to take home in a nice, good, healthy points position?
Victories would be nice. It's not too often though I can keep up to Justin or Elliot or Kurt. So I think in the points right now, Kurt's ahead of me. I'd like to try to catch him by the end of the season if possible. So we'll see how that goes. But really happy with the race and good work by my teammates as well. They got some good finishes tonight.
Absolutely. We're going to jump back to break real quick. We're going to grab the 14 to Liam Park. Jonathan, thanks for talking to us and enjoy that champagne in Victory Lane.
We will. Thanks, guys.
And we're back here with your third place finisher, Liam Park, in the number 14. Liam, you had one heck of a race. Got your rear bumper hit a couple times, but you held on and for a great podium finish. From your perspective, how was that race for you today?
Oh, that was really exciting. I wasn't very excited to come to Laguna Seca, and I think the performance in my first race probably showed that. I knew I was going to be a little better in the second race, especially starting up front, but I'm really happy with this result, and this is actually my first win, even though it's a class win, not an overall win. So I'm thrilled with that.
Well, that's awesome to hear, and congratulations on that AM class victory. Liam, we got a couple races left. We got Brands Hatch and then Suzuka. Out of those last two, what's your favorite and what's your plan to take home another AM class victory?
I'm definitely looking forward to Brands Hatch. It's a track I've got not actually a whole lot of experience at, but I enjoy it, so I'm looking forward to that. Suzuka, not a strong suit of mine. I don't seem to do very well in Japan, but it's a fun track that flows, so anybody that is good at driving technical will enjoy that track.
Awesome. Well, that's awesome to hear, and again, congratulations on that AM class victory. Thanks for talking to us, Liam. We're going to head to break real quick. We'll be right back to wrap everything up and send us off to next week.
Thanks, guys. I'm very happy to finally talk to you.
Awesome.
We are too.
Thanks for talking with us. We'll be right back. And Finian, we're here to conclude the end of round 7 of 9 in the 2018 Ferrari GT3 Challenge for the Sim Championship Racing Series. Finian, 2 weeks left in this one, Brands Hatch and Suzuka over in Japan. Out of those two races, we're going to have a tight points battle, especially in the AM class. From your, I want to hear, what you're expecting out of Brands Hatch, because that is another track where it can get narrow and it's very off camber in some corners. It can lead to a lot of DQs. So what's your prediction for the next couple of weeks?
I think definitely we've seen this week that these guys know it's crunch time, and they're willing to make the moves that they need to do to get as many points as they can. We've seen that in race 1 that this was a difficult place to pass, and a lot of guys are trying to make the move stick. So definitely Brands Hatch being slightly tighter cores. I don't think that'll stop too many people. Some of the guys who are more cautious, like Beamy was taken, being more cautious, they'll try to stay behind. But the guys who want to be more aggressive, they're gonna definitely try to be more aggressive, and hopefully that pays out for them in the end, and hopefully they don't end up in the wall. But it's crunch time.
All right, and so next week we're headed off to Brands Hatch. Thanks again to our sponsors, Sparco and Penguin RC Simulations. The link to those sponsors will be in the description, and race start times will be in the comments. Thanks for watching, and we'll be back at Brands Hatch.
This broadcast on SimTV is brought to you by Sparco, Motorsports Racing Apparel and Accessories, and Penguin RC Simulation, Premium Sim Racing Hardware.